I never thought that I'd have the privilege to be speaking here today, and I'm honoured to be speaking alongside some of the strongest dissenting voices we have seen in the past 3 years. I'm also delighted to be here next to British MP Mr Andrew Bridgen, who I've had the pleasure of working with, who's spoken at my rallies, and he is the only MP in the UK Parliament that's brave enough to stand with the people. I have a question, though. Are you scared of me?
I would never admit it if I was.
Exactly. I'll talk about a few things that all of you know. But from 2020, for 2 years, we all suffered draconian measures based on unscientific and fictional modelling. These measures were enforced by a tyrannical government that repeatedly claimed to be following the science. I think we can all agree they did not. They created a science designed to fit a narrative, while these unscientific measures, restrictions and mandates were forced upon us. During this time, it was not easy to be a dissenting voice. Most of us were censored, silenced and cancelled, but some of us were arrested, charged and convicted for exercising our human right to peacefully protest against these cruel and harmful measures. We were isolated, terrorised and oppressed, and this was their new normal. While dissenting voices were silenced and ridiculed, and people who peacefully demonstrated were criminalised, the masses were coerced and manipulated through the use of behavioural science, fear-mongering and wartime propaganda. They were forced into taking an experimental vaccine, and this is their new normal. Most recently, I have run a 6-month-long campaign that gave a voice to the COVID vaccine injured and bereaved. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Thank you. So most recently, I've run a campaign for the COVID vaccine injured and bereaved. 2 of those ladies are in the room with us today, one who lost her mother and the other who's injured herself, who campaigned for truth and justice, not just for themselves, but for future vaccine injured, and we know that will come. I've campaigned for 2 years telling people that it would be safer to wait, that to discourage them from needlessly participating in an experiment. Unfortunately, today we see the results of a mass vaccination campaign rolled out globally with no informed consent. They mandated an experimental vaccine. They threatened people with the loss of their livelihoods. And now thousands of people in the UK alone have suffered life-changing injury, while others have been killed. This is their new normal. Our rights and freedoms were stripped from us in a way that we have never experienced before. The very people we may have once believed were democratically elected into their positions of privilege to govern by the people, for the people, committed fraud upon the people. I believe that today this fraud has been exposed. As Orwell said, all tyrannies rule through fraud and force, but once the fraud is exposed, they must rely exclusively on force. This power grab, as we know it, if we do not resist, will be that force, and that force will be our new normal. I stand with you today to congratulate these citizens for taking the first steps to tackle the transfer of power from the people to the unelected and unaccountable World Health Organization. Secondly, I'll call upon the citizens of the world to unite in their respective countries, as we will do in ours, and across all continents of the world, and to tell those citizens that you do have a choice. You have the power to effect change, and you have a voice, so use it. Now we must work together to stand against this power grab and at the very least raise mass awareness, encourage and demonstrate mass non-compliance. You have a choice not to choose their new normal. Thank you.